My name's Greg Oliver. I write for Slam Wrestling on the internet and author of the book Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, The Canadians. I'm very pleased to be able to host here today with our Q&A session with some very distinguished guests. We'll go to my left. We have Dr. D. David Schultz, who had a storied career through the 70s and into the 80s, and definitely one of wrestling's wildest, most famous creations. Speaking of wild creations, to his left is Dewey Robertson, aka the Missing Link, man who had two distinct careers, to say the least. Beside him is Ted Dibiase, the $1 Million Man, as most of us may know him, but of course he had a career before that and was brought into the business by Iron Mike Dibiase, who was his father, adopted father. And to his left is his servant for some of the career, Virgil, sometimes known as Vincent. Oh, there we go. And had a decent wrestling career on his own. And to his left, and a very grown-up character, and to his left is Gary Michael Capetta, a very respected author now with his book Body Slams. But before that, of course, he was an announcer both for the WWF and also for the NWA/WCW, and did some work with ESPN as well. So we'd like to open up the floor to the fans here in attendance. This is your Q&A session. This is your chance to ask some of these stars of yesterday, some of whom are still wrestling today. I believe, Virgil, you're still wrestling today?
Yes.
And Ted, you're pretty well done?
I'm done.
Okay, and I know Dewey still wrestles on occasion at 65. And Dave, when was the last time you... 45.
Right.
Okay, out to the fans here. Who's got a question? Go ahead.
One for Ted.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to WrestleMania 4? What happened there? Why you didn't get the title? And yeah, you feeling that?
Okay. The question was WrestleMania 4, and why I didn't get the title. Now, do you want to know the storyline why I didn't get the title, or do you want to know why I didn't get the title?
Backstage.
Backstage, it was a dispute from the Honky Tonk Man and Randy Savage were not happy with the direction. They felt like they were being slighted for some reason, and I believe to appease everyone, including me, they decided to put the WWF title on Savage, leave the Intercontinental title on the Honky Tonk Man, and create a belt for the $1 Million Man. Seeing that my character was one that was supposed to be unlimitedly wealthy, I didn't need their belt. I would create my own, so to speak. So that was the purpose for that. That's all I'll say. Okay.
Yes, in the back.
I just got a question for all of you. One of the legendary wrestlers of all time is Andre the Giant. I guess I'm just inviting you all to share. I've heard a lot of stories about Andre, and if you guys would share your Andre stories with us, if you could.
Oh, Dave, you want to start?
I don't really have any about Andre.
Okay. Dewey, you may.
I drove him around in one of my Cadillacs that I had, and one time he saw one, and he bought one, or he let me go and buy it for him. And the stories of Andre go on and on and on. Ted was one. I traveled with him, took him around a lot of places, Canada, United States, and Ted was one that was involved with him and probably could tell you some real insight, something you probably don't know on his leaning on your shoulder, Ted, maybe.
Andre, I love dearly. Andre was a very colorful character in our business. And he's often called the Gentle Giant, and he was in fact that. Andre was a good man, and he really was a man's man, not just in his stature and his size, but in his character as well. He was a man of his word, and he didn't take any bull, but he was a lot of fun as well. And I had a lot of good memories and a lot of good times with Andre, on the road. And when I came to the WWF, when I came back to the WWF as the $1 Million Man character, of course, you all know that they teamed us up there, and we spent a lot of time, did a lot of tag matches together, and we rode up and down the roads quite a bit. And Andre could be a real practical joker as well, and there's a lot of Andre stories from the road, colorful stories. What a lot of people don't know was that in the last couple of years of his career, when he was wrestling, he was in a great deal of pain. Right after WrestleMania 3, he had injured his back, and there were actually times when he and I would walk to the ring as a tag team, and he would have his hand resting on my shoulder. And it just looked like he had his hand resting on my shoulder walking to the ring, and what he was in fact doing was steadying himself because he was in so much pain. Yet, he was a trooper, and the show must go on, and he would go on and do his best. He was a great guy, just a super guy. I can't say enough good about Andre.
Let me just inject one story that's in the book that I've almost finished writing, and I think you'd enjoy it because you don't know what goes on back sometimes in the dress rooms or in other areas. There was an electric chair hooked up to the light switch in Toronto, very famous wrestling area, and I had been the person who flipped the switch in the chair that would give you electric jolt. Tex McKenzie could hardly lift his legs as he jumped off of this chair, but when Andre's time came, and he was very new, he couldn't speak English, and when I flipped the switch, and he got up very quietly and looked around and saw who it was, and this is very new in his career when he just came, Carpentier brought him over, and we didn't know, but he looked around at me with all those teeth and gave a big smile. We didn't know what kind of temperament he had, but that jolt didn't hurt him, but he just turned around and smiled. He was that gentleman. Thank you.
Virgil, did you work with Andre a bit? Obviously.
Yeah. About 9 months we were with Andre. I think Andre was, no words from him. He was a great guy, a good teacher. But the main thing I noticed about Andre, when he said, we're leaving at 8 a.m., you better be there at 7:30 a.m. or you'll be left. You'll be sitting right out there in the Marriott lot by yourself. One thing Andre taught you was to be on time. And I learned that from him. He's a great guy. And there's no words for him, man.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Capetta, did you run across him a few times when he was WWF, I guess?
I did. And to put all that into perspective, when you consider Andre's size, and when you consider what he had to go through, going through airports, being pointed at, being approached all the time, hotels, try to find a bed that would be comfortable for Andre, try to find a shower where he would be able to easily shower himself, wash his hair, would always have to stoop over, always have to stoop under doors, the tops of doors, and yet the guy was aces, as everyone's saying. He was just a wonderful guy, but he had put that in perspective with what he had to go through as somebody who was on the road all the time, and someone who was just different from everyone else because of his size. And I think that really shows the essence of the man.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got a question? Yes, go ahead.
I'm going for Virgil. Virgil, after being beside Ted over here for all those years, when you finally got your chance to go off by yourself and become a full-time wrestler, what was it like to wrestle at Madison Square Garden against Ted Dibiase for the $1 Million Belt?
Wrestling in Madison Square Garden is like life. You can't explain it because you got to be there yourself to really feel the explosion of people there. 24,000 people, and all chanting your name. And you're working with a great technician as Ted right here. He can guide around a broomstick. You know what I mean? So it was very exciting and.
Worked with you, didn't I?
Right. Out of the broomstick. But it was very fulfilling, and I learned enough in that one night, you know. And I can't explain it. You just gotta, you know, put yourself in that place once and see how it really feels. You gotta go to the garden and you see what 24,811 people are when they're screaming there, and it's pay-per-view. You know, so, and then you're with one of the greatest workers of all time. So that made my day.
All right, who else got a question? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question for Ted Dibiase.
Okay.
How did it feel to wrestle Hulk Hogan in your career?
To wrestle Hulk, look out there, buddy. You're tied up into this thing. Well, obviously, to wrestle Hulk was a thrill because, you know, Hulk was the goose that laid the golden egg, so to speak. He was the man. You know, you think about the WWF in that day, in the heyday, and the beginning of WrestleMania. I mean, he was the hero, the superhero, and you know, I wrestled a lot of guys in a lot of main events in a lot of big buildings in this country and around the world. But it was always a charge to wrestle Hulk, because to be standing in the ring anywhere, whether it was Madison Square Garden or where, and you know, that music would play and the Hulk would come to the ring, and you were always there waiting for him. It was it was electric. It really was. It was a thrill, and I especially enjoyed wrestling Hulk Hogan because when I did, I was making lots of money.
David was one of the other guys who would have worked Hulk in the main events. Can you share a little bit about working with Hulk? What was he like in the ring, Dave?
Well, you had to take him by the hand, lead him around. He couldn't wrestle his way out of a paper bag as far as wrestling. He could drop a leg. He could go out and show off with big body and everything, and you know. But if he didn't have a good person working against him, he couldn't have a good match. The matches I had against him was just knockdown, drag-outs. That's the only way I could have a match with a guy. Ted probably had a good match with him because Ted's probably a better technician at something than I am. I'm not a technician. I just go out and get the job done, whatever. And I have no comments about Hulk Hogan, you know, except when he started in the business that he was sleeping in his van, didn't have a room or anything. He stayed in my house. And then later on, he acts like he don't know you. He don't know anybody. He takes everything. I mean, you know, to me, he's a piece of garbage. I mean, that's my personal opinion of Hulk Hogan. He's a piece of garbage, you know.
That's why we asked these
opinion.
questions. Thanks, David. Who else has got a question? Yes, go ahead.
It's also from Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Not many people know after your wrestling career you became a bounty hunter.
That's right.
If you could explain how you got into that.
How I got into it, I needed to make money. I was Vince McMahon. After the John Stossel incident, he kind of got rid of me, tried to blackball me, if you call blackball, calling all the promoters, telling them, and national TV showing me slapping a reporter. It ended any kind of commercials, any kind of movie, anything else, because they seen me hitting a reporter, and most of the movie people are small people. Of course, they, oh God, we don't want this guy around here, you know.
What? Is this a good business?
Yeah, it's a good business. I wouldn't be in it if it wasn't.
Why is it a good business?
Because only the tough survive. That's the reason you ain't in it. And this punk holding the camera reading he ain't in it. Reading these rednecks out here ain't in it. Because it's a tough business.
That's terrific.
What, is that all you got?
I'll ask you the standard question. You know?
Standard question.
I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You come like them pictures fake? Huh? What do you mean? Fake.
But, you know, the whole story has never been told about John Stossel, the whole deal, you know. But you got to make money. You got to make money, and they needed somebody to pick up a motorcycle gang member with the Diablo motorcycle gang in Connecticut. Everybody was scared of the guy. I went and picked him up and made great money, and after that I picked up over 1,500. And I picked up murderers, rapists, bank robbers, and you know, it's great money if you can live to spend it.
Well, I think everybody knows by now not to ask David, is wrestling fake? That's how you get in trouble, right?
I was out. No, not asking a question, you wouldn't get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Making a statement, you might get in trouble.
All right.
according to what you do, you know.
Okay. It's
Especially
all about-
being a Canadian, you got to be real careful.
I will tap dance carefully with these questions. We don't want to have anybody lose an ear or anything here. Yes, in the back there.
What do you guys think of Bruno Sammartino's non-involvement with wrestling anymore? That he doesn't want to be affiliated with it?
Where's it?
Bruno?
Well, I've known Bruno for a very long time. Bruno knew my father, and I respected Bruno for the years that he was there. When I came to the WWF in 1979, he was still very much a big star, and I always respected him. I know that he hasn't wanted to have anything to do with the business for some time, and I really don't know. I don't know if that's personal bitterness or what. I'll be very honest with you. I am not a fan of what this company has become today. I won't let my own kids watch it because it's not wrestling anymore. It's not about good versus evil. You know, it's soft pornography is what it is, and I'm not a fan of that either. I'm almost 50 years old, and maybe you can call me old school, but the wrestling business traditionally has been about good versus evil, good guys and bad guys, and ultimately, in any storyline, good will conquer evil. But you can't name a good guy today. You can't name anybody in the business today, except maybe Shawn Michaels, who is an out-and-out good guy. So if you as a father, and I have 3 sons, and my son's watching SmackDown, and Steve Austin walks out in the ring and flips everybody the bird and guzzles down a can of beer. If you think I want my kid looking up to him, you're crazy. Absolutely not. So I'm not a fan of what it's become. And back to your original question, why Bruno has whatever animosity he has, I have no idea, but I just know that he does. He has his own reasons.
Anyone else from the panel? Gary, do you want to add anything? I mean, you know Bruno for sure for years.
Mm-hmm. I don't have the definitive answer as to why, but Bruno was very traditional. Bruno came up and succeeded in the time that Ted is talking about. Good guy, bad guy. I know that there were political issues on his way out. I know that Vinny and Bruno obviously they're not fans of each other. There were issues having to do with his son, David. Bruno's claimed that there were promises made to him that were reneged on by the WWF. I think it's a very complicated answer to what seems to be a very simple question. But knowing Bruno and knowing his values and his morals, I mean, there's no question, and it's not a big surprise that he wouldn't be a fan of the vulgarity that the WWE represents today.
Who else got a question? Yep.
It's for Mr. Schultz. What was Vince McMahon's whole take on the John Stossel incident?
Vince McMahon was happy. I slapped John Stossel. He shook my hand, congratulated me, everything, did exactly what he wanted me to do. Sent me to Japan right after that for the 4th time, and also hit a reporter in Japan because Inoki, I guess Vince told Inoki for me to hit a reporter in Japan. So when I come back, I went to depositions on the lawsuit with John Stossel, and one of the first questions was asked, are you in a habit of hitting reporters? So, it was all set up against me, but Vince McMahon's the one told me to do what I did. He knew I was going to do it. The guys in the dressing room knew I was going to do it. Fuji knew it. Iron Sheik knew it. They all knew it. They're selling a tape back here about it. I have the original outtake at home, but these guys sat there and watched me do it because they knew I was going to do it, and nobody ever moved 1 inch. And none of them would speak up because they were afraid they'd lose their job with Vince McMahon. I did what he wanted to do, and then he backed out and said, no, I did it on my own. Let me tell you, you don't wrestle 17 years, do live TV and do interviews everywhere. These guys even tell you, and then go out and hit a reporter on national TV unless you're told to do it, So I was set up. I mean, you know, I did what the guy wanted, and he used me, and there I was.
At the same time, you people are wrestling fans. You probably will be for a long time. But probably, as you well know, the animosity and all the high pressure that's in the wrestling business before, now, and always. Think carefully before you go to a wrestler and try and pull the wool over his eyes in some way, because they're very, very high-strung while they're doing what they're doing for a living. They can be very dangerous. Tell your friends. Keep coming. Keep coming.
Guess you better be careful with your next question then. Yeah, we don't want to set anyone off. Yes, in the back?
I say, along the same lines for the missing link, does it take you a while to become the missing link as far as getting into the mood, or can you turn it on and off pretty quick?
That's the first time I asked that. As soon as I get dressed, because I'm trying to be Dewey Robertson. It was just not so long ago in Arlington, Texas, Tim Wood said, the missing link's not missing anymore. The missing link was lost in alcohol, marijuana, and the world of women. And the missing link is trying to turn his life around and be back to Dewey Robertson. And Tim Wood says, missing link's not missing anymore. But when I put on any kind of a outfit, the one I wear is the missing link, or David, or Ted, or anybody, any wrestler puts that on, whatever they're putting on, when you step in the ring, or even when you put on your character, you automatically, and I can say that for anybody that's sitting here, turn into that character. Right, Mr. Schultz?
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're absolutely right.
That brings up a good question related to this, though. I mean, you talked about sitting there with Killer Tim Brooks down in Texas and at another event similar to this. Is it odd for you guys to sit here and talk openly about the business?
Yes.
I mean, you're a very old school guy, Dewey. You're the oldest one at the panel here.
Yes, it is odd for us. But it's kind of the business, the wrestling world, I always call it the wrestling world instead of business, changes. Different generations. So what we're doing today to you, who one of the panels said to me, well, we always thought we were fooling the crowd, but we were fooling ourselves sometimes. We get carried away with ourselves. So what we're doing to you as loyal fans who've made a place for us to come and meet each other, have a few moments of our fame come back. We've had our 15 minutes of glory, so we're trying to give you some of the insight because you are interested in wrestling. Many, many more out there. Would have been here a lot more today. This is a very well-run gathering. So it is strange for us, and we all have different opinions. We wrestle differently. We get paid differently. We act differently. We all have different attitudes. Right, Mr. Schultz?
That's right. You're absolutely right. Yes, sir.
But it is a pleasure to come here and be able to, for the first time in my wrestling career of 41 years, to be able to sit in front of somebody and tell you what I really want to tell you. Thank you.
All right, yeah, in the green?
Yeah, I have a question for the missing link, actually.
He's not here. He's not here. Dewey Robertson is my name. It's Byron in the book. You better buy a book.
Okay, I'll buy a book. Once you get into the character, if you come across like a small children, obviously your character can be scary to that small child. What do you do?
I capture them. I capture their attention, because children are no problem. It's when they grow up and they look at us as sometimes whatever class they put us in, they used to put us down. Because of Mr. McMahon, we have a high platform now all over the world. quite a platform. So we're able to go out and talk about or do whatever. But back to your question, I forgot that was.
Small children.
Oh, small children. Well, I think all wrestlers have a feeling of, if someone said, "Well, who did you like?" Well, it's always the kids that we like wrestling for, because they're the ones that enjoy it most, right?
That's right.
I think that's right.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Ted, you made a lot of children cry over the years.
That was
The basketball. Even on there's a new DVD that the WWE just put out, I think, and there's a clip of Rob Van Dam in one of the skits you guys did.
Yeah, what's amazing is that, for the longest time I didn't realize that, I retired from the ring, and then I left the WWF, and many of you may know that I'm a minister now. That's what I spend most of my time doing. So I don't really watch a lot of wrestling anymore. And so I turn on the TV and I hear, every now and then I'm flipping through there and I see this Rob Van Dam, and then finally somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, you remember that show you did where you had the kid come in the ring, you took off your sweaty boot and had him kiss your feet?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's Rob Van Dam." I said, "No kidding. I'd like to meet him now. Hey kid, you want to kiss my feet again?" It was fun. We had a lot of fun with the character, and the question I get asked all the time is, "What about the kid and the basketball?" And did you really jilt that kid? Well, no, we didn't really jilt the kid. Anytime we did, I did a lot of that at live events where there was no television, and it was improv. It was, I had $300 at my disposal all the time there at the beginning to get the character over, and I would handpick somebody after an event and have them do something stupid to prove I could buy them. But anytime we did it on television, it was pre-arranged and determined, and the kid got the money before we ever did the show. And but that was one night when I think people really wanted to, I remember going back in the back and I go, "You better put me in an armored car to get me out of here." I keep waiting for that kid to come up and walk. He's got to be about 20 years old now, and he's probably about 6'5". He's going to walk up one day and go, "Remember me? Want me to dribble a basketball for you?" Sure.
All right, in the back. Go ahead.
Where does the $1 Million Man? Who created that?
You know what? The $1 Million Man character was a Vince McMahon original idea. It was his idea, and it was his concept. And I was called, and I flew up to New York, and took the limo ride to Stamford and sat there in the office there with him. And actually, I think it was Pat Patterson. And this character was described to me. What's really funny was that during that interview, Vince got a call, and so I was left there in the room for a few minutes with Pat. And Pat looked at me and he said, "You realize, Ted, if Vince could put on the tights and climb in the ring, this is who he would be. So, you have to know, if you do this is almost like his alter ego." And those words were almost prophetic. But it was the character. The character itself was the brainchild of Vince.
When the UWF was bought by Crockett, how come you never went to the NWF?
Well, a lot of things happened very rapidly right about then. When the UWF actually had been Bill Watts' deal. It was Mid-South Wrestling. And when Bill saw what was happening and what McMahon was doing, and all of a sudden here's this guy going nationwide and he's drawing the talent, the UWF actually was an idea by Bill Watts, but it was a good idea, but it was too little, too late, because Vince already had a real strong hold on things, and so he sold the company to Crockett. And when that sale was made, I was wrestling in Japan. And I got a call from a friend, and he said, "When you get back here, that Vince, not Vince, but Crockett has bought the UWF, and he wants you, but don't sign anything until you have an opportunity to talk to Vince McMahon, because he's interested in you." So when I came back from Japan, I did talk to Jimmy Crockett, but I didn't make a commitment. And then I went up to, I went up to have that visit with Vince, and the rest is history. It was kind of, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Okay, yeah.
This question was asked at the last Van Slam, and I think the entire panel would be good at answering. What are your feelings on Vince Jr. and your time working with him?
Just junior. He's just a junior.
Well, we want to start down the end there, Gary. You worked with us. Well, last time too. You were here last time, of course.
Just call him junior.
Short form.
Yeah, he's a coffee boy. Those guys had
Through my personal experience,
those guys got rid of quick.
I always felt that Vinny was a very insecure guy, and that he always overcompensated for it by the control that he needed to exert over the people that worked with him. And I do believe that profit is part of industry, and that can be a very good thing. But I do also believe that someone can be a millionaire, can be a billionaire, and still treat the people that work with you and the people around you in a way that's a little bit more humane. I know business, just in the essence of business, not just wrestling, but any business, can be very cutthroat. And there's certain things that do need to be done, and there are certain people that carry grudges. And I'm sure there are people that are walking around that are carrying tales about Vinny that, maybe aren't all that true, but they were slighted, they were maybe let go or whatever. But in my experience, loyalty only went one way with Vince, at least as the lowest guy on the totem pole, the announcer. Loyalty went one way, and he didn't feel the need to ever say, "Hey, good job." He always felt, this is back in the 70s now, that if he did that you might think you were doing a better job, you might ask for a raise, you might get full of yourself, you might start rocking the boat. And this is just on my small, low level. So therefore, I just feel that he needs to control, anyone that needs to control is pretty insecure with themselves.
The guy beside him was saddled with his name for a while. What are your experiences, Virgil, being Vincent, and the name of Vincent McMahon, I guess?
Well, I didn't know the father, okay? Vince, which he ran a multi-million-dollar corporation, okay? He's a businessman. So I feel as long as you got value, he needs you. But once your value leaves, you're done. So he cares for his company, put it that way. So I guess when you work for him, you just got to realize that it's a business, and he runs the company. It's like if you ran your company, But sometimes you can treat people certain ways, I mean, there's a couple ways you can treat people, a nice way, a mean way, and a business way. He's strictly business.
Okay.
He should be a nicer business, but he's strictly hardcore business.
All right.
Yeah.
Ted, you talked a little bit about Vince already. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I would say this. I've always said that I have the best years of my career, the most profitable years of my career, and I have Vince McMahon and the WWF to thank for that, and I will always be thankful for that. The man gave me an opportunity, and I took that opportunity and I ran with it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But at the same time, I've watched the business that I have loved all my life turn into something that doesn't even resemble what it used to be. And the same man that took it from pretty much a blue-collar crowd form of entertainment to making it mainstream and a family form of entertainment has now taken it and made it XXX rated. So, although I'm grateful for the years of success that I had, I do not endorse or agree with the present product of the company. And it does. It comes right back down with Vince to the bottom line. It's all about money. But personally, and this is something that it took me personally a long time to find out, and I made this statement at Road Warrior Hawk's funeral. Hawk found this out too, right, the last couple of years of his life, that the measure of a man is not the size of his biceps, his bank account, or how much beer he can drink, but the size of a man is measured by his strength of character and his integrity, his ability to keep his word, and that his word is his bond. But that doesn't seem to be the case with Vince. With Vince, it is simply the dollar, and whatever he has to do to make a buck is what he's going to do. And that's really sad, because he's taken a business I love and virtually destroyed it because of that attitude.
Your fans, when us wrestlers meet together, we haven't seen each other for a while, they say, "What's the scoop?" I'll give you a scoop you've never ever heard before, a really inside scoop. Vince McMahon's father, who showed up at Madison Square Gardens in a tuxedo. And this is something you've never heard. Chief Jay Strongbow's gone, or he'd verify it.
He's right there.
Oh, is he? At any time, the father would open the books, and you could see what anybody else got paid. Very unusual. That's where his father was. What did you say about Vince, Doctor?
Well, I'll tell you
way
about, this is my opinion about Vince McMahon, exactly what Ted said. You measure a man by, what's really in his heart, how he treats people, what he does. Vince McMahon would be shorter than Sky Low ever was. Vince McMahon is a liar, my opinion. He's a thief, my opinion. He's a coward. He's a in my opinion. He had sexual relations with a referee, Rita Marie, and in my opinion, he should have been prosecuted by the law. Vince McMahon is a total dog mess or whatever. And like the famous words of Clint Eastwood, the only thing you can do with dog mess is either bag it up and throw it away or let it dry up and the wind blow it away. I'd like to face Vince McMahon, me and Vince McMahon, in one-on-one, one time in my life, face to face, me and him, and show him what a man's all about. And that's my opinion of Vince McMahon. He's lied, he's destroyed people, he's played with their lives, he don't care about you, me, or anybody else. He don't care about his wife, his kids, his anything. He's as big as a piece of nothing as there ever was. That's my opinion. And that's
Sounds like we have the main event of WrestleMania 20 coming up here.
You couldn't pay Vince McMahon. You couldn't pay him to face me.
Could he pay you to,
money.
Would you ever go back? I'm sure
to
Bret
face
Hart
him,
gets it all the time.
To face him one time. Who? Bret Hart?
Bret Hart gets it all the time. The same idea. Somebody who held a huge falling out with Vince. Would you go back?
No. I have no desire to go back unless I went back to even up with Vince McMahon. This man owes me millions of dollars. And no telling how many other wrestlers he owes millions of dollars to. And he set them up, excuse the expression, screwed them around. He treats people just like, he treats them like garbage. He takes you in, he throws you away. He uses you, he throw you away. Use you, throw you away. And guys keep going back to him, And, that's my opinion, like I said, guys made good money with him. A lot of guys made good money with him. A lot of careers were made with Vince McMahon. But to me, Vince McMahon is a man, he's not no man. He's a piece of garbage. A lot of garbage around this business. I want you to know that.
All right, in the back there, yeah?
I'm sorry, Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
If you could expound upon,
Calm down,
I
dude.
read somewhere, expound upon the millions of dollars comment. You had an idea, a very important idea, that you got no credit for whatsoever, as I recall. If you could just tell the story of that, unless I'm in space, I'm thinking of somebody else.
Which idea?
Did it have something to do with Hulk Hogan, or is something? I think you coined the term Hulkamania or something.
No.
You coined WrestleMania.
It was something. It was something said like that when it was first started out. That was in Hulk Hogan's book, I believe. Hogan was making facts in his book. Not that I didn't buy the book. Somebody let me have it, and I actually read it until he got to the point where he had said I hit John Stossel 4 times, which that's a lie, you know. And a lot of other things he said was a lie. And Hogan was a steroid abuser. He was a user, drug user. And, you know, that's fact. That's not just what I'm saying, that's fact. And, you know, and he made that up. I read that in a book about something. It was never, I had nothing to do with it. It's another lie.
Okay. Anybody in the back there? Yeah.
Especially for Ted, you mentioned when you liked wrestling because of the spark. They released a DVD of his last year, and they showed his very first match with the WWF was against you. Did you feel the spark then? Could you tell there was something about him that was different, or was it just?
Well, the thing, you know, I mean, he again, Hulk was never a great worker. He was never a great technician in the ring. What he had the ability to do was his gimmick, his character, and he knew how to best take advantage of his character, and he took advantage of the things that he did know how to do well and did it well, and that's, you know, I would say that's to his credit. I mean, you know, the guy didn't get where he's at because he's a dummy. You know, was he a great technical wrestler? No, never has been. But you know, he, as a big guy with a big body, he was, you know, again, he was the right guy at the right place at the right time. And I tell a lot of young guys that want to get in this business, you might have all the talent in the world, and you might, you know, I mean, you go to Hollywood. You know, you can go to almost any restaurant in Hollywood, and you're going to meet potential movie stars, and they're waiting tables and busting dishes because the right break hasn't come along. And unless you happen to be at the right place at the right time and have what they're looking for, you know, you may never get a break. But you know, he got that break, and he took full advantage of it. You know, did I think that he was exceptionally gifted when I wrestled him the first time at Madison Square Garden? No, I didn't. You know, he was a young, inexperienced guy. You know, and I wasn't all that experienced myself. I just had more experience than he did.
I wanted to ask any of you guys how you guys felt working with the Von Erichs and about anything about them.
Well, Dewey, you probably worked with the Von Erichs.
Yeah, I wrestled David the night he went off and died, and I was told about the Von Erichs by my former partner Billy Red Lyons, who depicted them as a family who had too much. And I mean, it wasn't the father's fault. He worked hard. He did a great job in promoting Texas, and he took care of all his sons. But I think it was having too much, and of everything. And I'm one that sits here, 13 years clean from alcohol, and in recovery for those 13 years, marijuana only. Marijuana only. Imagine that getting you down. And these boys, it just went too far. And, you know, everybody here could probably tell you of somebody else. You know, the Kurt Hennings and all the other people who we really don't want to talk about them too much because we really miss them. Some of us have wrestled them. Some of us have traveled with them and know them very well. And we still feel bad. We still feel bad. Here's a man that's been around a long time, and he feels bad when he sees them going down. And we wonder why we're still here. We went through that. That's all I have to say about that.
You know, Von Erichs, I knew all those guys, and as far as their working ability, the first one to die, David was probably the best worker. the best guy in the ring and with the best knowledge and savvy of and the understanding of the psychology of wrestling. The other guys are all good guys, but again, abuse, and but again, and I don't want to point a finger at the Von Erichs. That's a family tragedy. I mean, there's only one of them left, and that's a tragedy. But I want to tell you a bigger tragedy. In the last 10 years, so, it was 10 years ago last month that I physically retired from the ring. In those 10 years, 40 guys, all before the age of 45, are dead. And one woman, Elizabeth. And it's all because of drug and alcohol abuse. Every single one of them. And that's a real tragedy. I'm tired of going to funerals. My buddy Hawk. I was proud of Hawk because in the last couple of years of his life, he straightened up big time, and was trying to make a difference. But you just wonder where it's going to end. There are a lot of guys who approach me about, and don't get me wrong, I am not bitter. The wrestling industry was good to me, and I loved what I did. I enjoyed entertaining people. I grew up in this business, and I loved it. But I'll be real honest with you, the one thing my dad never wanted me to be was a wrestler. Now I'm almost 50 years old looking back, and I have 3 sons, and I've told all of them, you'll be a wrestler over my dead body. Because I understand that the culture, even when wrestling is at its best, without all the sex and pornography and the garbage and the shock value television that it's become, when it was always what people enjoyed about it, the entertainment of wrestling, the culture behind it has always been one where if you look at the lifestyle and what the guys actually go through, and that's what I try to get young guys to look at. I said, you don't understand. You see the big houses, and you see money, and you see fame, and you see this, and you see that. So you don't see the drug and alcohol abuse. You don't see the destroyed marriages and the destroyed families and the guys that end up broke and without anything. In pro wrestling, there's no pension plan. In pro wrestling, there's no hospitalization plan. There's no retirement fund. There's no players union to take care of the guys. You're on your own, and you are at the mercy of the promoter. But you understand that when you get in it. So I'm not sitting here crying about it, because I understood what I was getting into. Anybody that cries, you got no reason to cry. The business doesn't owe you anything. You better be smart with the money that you make, and you better understand what the business is when you get into it. And then if you want to do it, then it's you have no one to blame but yourself. But I'm just saying, the abuses that are there, and you would think that some of these guys would start figuring it out, that they keep dropping like flies. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends. Kurt Hennig here, Hawk, Davey Boy, Elizabeth. I mean, boy, the list goes on, and a growing list of guys and those abuses. And there's no doubt, if there's one of the most dangerous downsides to our business is that. And you say, well, where's that come from? You look at the life of the wrestler looks pretty glamorous on the surface, because you see him at an arena and you see him being applauded, or, oh gosh, look at the star. But you don't see the miles and miles that they put on. You don't see the not so glamorous, the truck stops and the baloney blowouts and the travel the indie circuit in wrestling. There's a lot of guys that became big stars in this business that did pay their dues, and there's a lot of guys who made money and never paid the first due. More power to them. But there's definitely a downside to this business, and you got to be able to. I want you guys are all fans. That's why you're here. I want you to understand that I'm not. I love what wrestling was, and I love to get in the ring, and I love to entertain people. I love to entertain you guys. People come up to me all the time and go, God, I said, don't get mad. Man, I used to hate your guts. And I go, good. You were supposed to. That meant I was doing my job properly. You know, that was the emotion that I wanted to elicit from you. Wrestling in its truest senses as an art form is the ability of two guys to go out in that ring and put on a contest that most educated people realize is not real. But for the 2 hours you're sitting there, you're suspended in that disbelief, just like if you're sitting in a movie theater and you go to a movie that's really good, it's got you on the edge of your seat and can make you laugh and make you cry and elicit all those emotions from you. Two good wrestlers that know what they're doing can do that. That's gone. That doesn't happen anymore. That part of the business, unfortunately, I think is. I hope it's not gone forever, but I kind of feel like it is. It's become shock value television today, and I believe that part of that is the nature of the way it evolved when Vince went nationwide and captured all the talent and all the smaller territories died. Well, there wasn't any place anymore for young guys to go and learn the trade, and that's one of the reasons that you see all this stuff now. I mean, I'm hearing stories that these guys on television now have scripted interviews. I never had a scripted interview in my life. The little red light on the camera went on and I started talking. Now I'm understanding that everything is totally scripted. They've taken the essence of the business is gone, and the essence of the real art form of the business was improv. And when you had that ability, which was, I feel, a God-given ability, you could do it. But there's a lot of guys that have gone, 40 guys, 40 in the last 10 years. Drug and alcohol abuse.
I'd like to give you one more scoop. Nobody talks about steroids. When I asked the referee for the Olympics 4 times, he said, well, what about the rewards? In my book, it talks about all the side effects and all the different things that happen to you because I use them. When I asked the girl, what about steroids? In the mall one day when she was smiling, we got the Olympic Games in where my boy lives in Whistler. She said, there is no reward, just humility. At the same time, Russia had been taking 2 medals away at the same time. So when Ted talks about the 40 guys who died, the steroids not only lead to other things, but in the end, there's just humility. And as far as a wrestler goes, and he didn't use steroids, you can tell by the wimpy arms in his picture. But he could talk about how much fun it was to wrestle.
What? You want to talk a little bit about what wrestling was when you were there?
Wrestling was, it was.
You want this, David?
It was great. No, I've got this here. It was great to me. It was great to me. I seen steroid abuse. I seen drug abuse. I seen marriages crumble. I seen it all. And just like these guys, they seen it all. And it's stuff that you people will never see. You'll never see it. You hear people. You hear me talk about it. I love the business. The business was great to me, but I worked hard at what I did. I was a different type wrestler than Ted or Virgil or the Missing Link or Dewey or whatever. I was a different type wrestler. I was trained by Herb Welch. I didn't associate with wrestlers that much. When the matches was over, I went my own way. And I was, from the beginning, I was told to do that. Herb Welch told me, don't associate with people. I wanted people to hate me. They hated me. Everybody hated me. They still hate me. Half of y'all out there now hate me, which I don't blame. I mean, like Ted said, I did my job. And it was good to me. I made good money. But all these guys that are dying off, they're dying off. I think a lot of it is in the steroids, and most of it is in steroids or drugs or alcohol abuse. And, one thing, I think they got too much money. Too much money, nothing to do with it. And they just keep on. I've seen guys just go all the pieces. Me, I didn't have any problem with none of it. I seen it. they say, like Bill Clinton said, he tried marijuana, he didn't inhale. He got away with it, no problem. You know, president does it, no problem. You know, and but the business was great to me, and I'm not crying or arguing about the business. The people, you know, the guys were great, but I mean, you know, it was great to me. I mean, I couldn't ask for no better, you know. I just hated that it cut off when it cut off. I was just there starting to make great money. You know, in my career, you work so hard to get there, and then all of a sudden you cut off because you do something the guy wants you to do, and it's over, you know. But, you know, it was no problem. I went on to bigger things, you know.
Gary, you got a little bit to add to that?
Yeah, I have a, the panel here is so open and honest with what they think. I want to throw something out, be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. To follow up with what Ted said, yeah, there are no pension funds, no retirement benefits. Why, when there's a Screen Actors Guild, why, when there's the Baseball Players Association, why hasn't there ever been any unification amongst the wrestlers? Now, if one person speaks up, they're going to be out the door. We know that. So I think Sergeant Slaughter tried that with his, he complained about the gimmick money back in the 80s, and he was on the indie circuit real quick. But why can't wrestlers ever unify and stand up for themselves? I think it's as simple as, that's my simple question.
That's a great question, and I wish I really had the answer. You know, I don't know why. I mean, because there's always somebody. You know, there's always somebody there that, you know, again, it's that old deal where, you know, if you stand up, you know, you might in a locker room get all the guys to go, yeah, that's right, you know. But when it's time to go in to the man's office on the carpet, and you look around, and all of a sudden you're standing there by yourself.
That's right. But why?
You know, I don't understand that. You know, I don't know why. I really don't know why. But it's if the guys could ever, you know, band together and have enough guts to stay together, you know, and say, look, you know, or maybe it's that idea, well, like, you know, if we do, well, then he's gonna go out there and he's just gonna find somebody else to do it. You know, that's another thing. The other thing that I always felt about Vince was that Vince never really totally appreciated the talent of the wrestlers. It was always, I can make anybody a star.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and one of the greatest examples I can give you is the Ultimate Warrior. He couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag. You know, the guy had a great body and a great look, and as soon as his music played and he ran to the ring, it was over. You know, you saw him one time, you saw him, that was it. The guy, you know, but that was Vince.
Mm-hmm.
You know, part of Vince's ego.
And it feeds into the insecurity of the performers, of the wrestlers,
Exactly.
of the athletes.
Right.
There's a story that I tell, goes back to the early 80s at the Continental Airlines Arena. I was sitting at ringside one night. He was still grooming Hulk to be the champion. And we had a state athletic commission in the state of New Jersey. I was sitting at ringside, and the action kept on spilling outside the ring, and we kept on having to move away from the timekeeper's table. And there was this kid that was sitting next to me, and I didn't know who he was. I just assumed he was with the state athletic commission. And he kept on asking me these very pointed, smart questions about the business side of wrestling. And of course, kayfabe, you protected the business at all. I was just avoiding his questions, avoiding answering his questions. And he was getting annoyed with me because I was avoiding answering. And finally he stopped me and he said, you know, I bet you don't know who I am. And I said, you're right, I don't have a clue who you are. He said, I'm Shane. I'm Vince's son. Well, I hear this, and you know, my wheels start turning, and I decided I'm going to find out what maybe makes this kid tick, or the family tick, or what he... So I asked him one question, and I said to him, you've grown up in a wrestling family. Grandfather promoted, your dad, big promoter. Thanksgiving dinner, I'm sure, at the dinner table you hear about wrestling all the time. If you were in charge and you had all to say about what was the most important thing that a promoter should know, what would it be? And Shane, who was maybe 14, 16 years old at the time, turned around to me, and without skipping a beat, he said, the most important thing that a promoter needs to know is to not let your wrestlers know how important they are to you, so you can get away with paying them the least amount of money. And I went, whoa! It was like instant. He didn't have to think a second. And then I look at athletics. I look at all entertainment forms, and somehow all of these creative sorts, and all of the ego that goes into being an athlete, star athlete, and also an entertainer, they somehow can get together. Why? I have never been able to figure out why a wrestler is just different, a different creature. I don't get it. And I know you can replace one person, and you can replace maybe a couple people, but when the entire locker room is going to walk out, I don't.
Well, you know, and maybe it's just that it's such a cutthroat business that, you know, guys in this business have always been programmed to, you know, you take care of number one.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to take care of number one, and if you don't take care of number one, nobody's going to take care of number one.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, let him go in there and go on the carpet, because if he does, he'll be gone, and I'll have his spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mentality, and I think that's the answer to the question. It's sad, but it's true, because there's always somebody, you know, waiting in the wings. You know, where if all the guys would band together and say, look, you know, if he, you know, he might have a lot of things, but if he doesn't have us, he doesn't have a show.
That's right.
So.
I think that's the most honest answer that we could probably have.
But along those same lines, though, the Jets have a taxi squad. Those guys are a part of the union. You know, in football, they're waiting their chance. Same way for somebody to go, but they're all pulling together for the strength of the football union. So I think it could happen now, but I totally see how it never happened in the 70s, because you were all independent contractors. Now they have contracts where at least they have a guarantee of something. That's my 2 cents, but all it's worth. But
well, they're contracts of some sort.
True.
They're very lopsided contracts.
Well, you know, I was told by an attorney that looked at the contract, said that's not a contract, because a contract between a company and an individual is mutually beneficial to both parties. And he said that protects the WWF. It does nothing for you. And basically, that's what I was told. I mean, basically, it's like, yeah, go ahead and sign that, because it's, you know, it's like slave labor. You know, but when you're the only show in town,
right.
You know, and then when somebody does have the guts to stand up a little bit, I mean, you start talking union in the dressing room, and see ya. You know, you'll be gone quicker than the snow.
Then you're a cancer in the locker room.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the term.
Then you're a troublemaker.
Yep.
All right, we got a question over here on the far side.
It's almost like negativity talk, but if there's for everybody, if there's one like memorable moment that you tell your grandkids or your kids about, one special night or whatever it is, you all give me specifically what it would be.
A special night. Well, I guess a defining night for me, because it really launched my character, you know, for the WWF, which, you know, provided me the best years of my career, was a night that I didn't actually wrestle, and that would be the rematch, Hogan and Andre, where I had declared that I was going to buy the belt, and it was the first time that wrestling was on national network television since the 50s, and I was very much a part of that main event. So that was a defining night, probably the most memorable moment for me. You too.
Yeah, I believe that was very memorable. Yeah, that's Monday. That was a Saturday night main event. Very, very memorable. Be on NBC live, you know. What can top that? I mean, I've been in WrestleManias, I've been in SummerSlams, but not on free TV on NBC, you know. That was really a big part, and they had it maybe a couple of years, and NBC just cut it off, you know. But that's the most, I mean, I really love that.
Don't let him fool you. His most memorable moment was beating me.
that was okay too. But Monday night, I mean, NBC, what was that? It came on, what day
It
was that?
was a Friday, February 2nd, 1988, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Man, you keep your history, don't you?
Wow.
Well, it was the year after WrestleMania 3, so.
In my capacity, I think it was the first time I went, I was on a tour of Europe, and even though I knew that I was with WCW at the time, even though I knew that the show was seen around the world, just to walk down the street with the well-known wrestlers and to really realize that it's a worldwide product and that people all over the world watch what you do, and whether it be an announcer or a wrestler. And I just thought, wow, that's like, I knew it happened, but when I saw people, you know, actually come up and recognize you, it's really cool.
Dewey, you've had lots of time to think about it.
I guess there's lots of stories, but I just thought about one and a tribute to Cambatera, Valentine, Greg, and Gene Kiniski made me a champion in one night. And I thank them very much. Canadian.
Yeah, he was Canadian heavyweight champion. It was a tournament in Toronto.
Thanks to those three guys, it made me look like a champion.
All right, Dave?
I don't really have anything I'd want to tell my grandkids that, you know, I mean, really, I can't have it. I mean, you know, there's nothing I'd want to tell them. I'd want them to know about that, just that I was a pro wrestler. And that's it, you know. There's nothing that sticks out in my mind that I'd be proud of in wrestling, you know. Just being a pro wrestler, that's good, thank you.
I remember as champion in Montreal. You were champion in Calgary.
That's right. That was
so.
a thrill to you, wasn't it?
Exactly. I'm thrilled to be sitting here beside you, Dave.
There you go.
In the back?
Easy over there now. I can hear y'all
I've
through
heard
this mic.
rumors about the origin of your name. How that came about.
I heard her tell
Did that cause any problems when the real Virgil came and y'all had a big line together?
What, when he came to in the polka dots and the black outfit, right? And he stuck a maid with him. God bless her, she passed away, and then, you know, with Sapphire. I mean, I guess it was, you know. But money's money, so you just keep on going, right? You go be a school teacher, or these school teachers got benefits.
You have a second row? Probably maybe Ted would know this. Where the heck did they get the guys like back in the 80s on Saturday TV, driving like 110 pounds to wrestle a guy like you? I mean, it would be like me getting in the ring with you. I mean, what did they think was going to be the product that they were showing?
Well, they called them enhancement matches. And basically those guys were there to make the stars look good on Saturday morning. And otherwise, you know, if it wasn't just to showcase the stars, then the real meat would be when two stars did an angle on television. But those guys, where do they get those guys? I mean, the same place, you know, like look at the indie circuit. There's a whole bunch of wannabes out there, and all those guys were guys who had a love for the wrestling business, who wanted to eventually become stars. I mean, you know, I came out of college into pro wrestling, having been born into it, I guess. But I paid my dues. You know, I started in Louisiana in 1975, and you know, and I wrestled for almost a year. And I can remember Bill Watts's agent, so to speak, was a guy they called Grizzly Smith, Jake Roberts' dad. And I remember the first night he walked in the dressing room and he said, "Ted," he says, "what do you use for a finish?" And I said, "I don't know, Grizz. I've never won a match." So you know, it's part of paying your dues. That's where those guys come from, and some of them go on to be become real talent, and some of them don't.
Dewey was one of those guys who was enhancement talent for Bruno Sammartino's promotion down in Pittsburgh, and he became something else. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Dewey?
I think that's summing it up. Not everybody starts off that way, but most guys do. I met Shawn Michaels back last year at the Christian convention and said, I haven't met you. He said, oh, yes, you have. He said, I hit you with a chair in Dallas, Texas. And all you said, growled at me and said, hit me harder. And I wasn't strong enough to even swing the chair that hard. And I said, oh, that's okay. And that's he was starting in Dallas or wherever he started. So Shawn Michaels, who Ted spoke highly of and is a great performer, and he started there doing what he had to do. Isn't that interesting? Not all of us do that way.
All right, I think we're going to do one more question, and then a couple of panel guests have to go. Yeah.
For Dibiase, you all know you have the $1 Million Corporation, and I think the most well-known member was at the end there with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Did you think, when you saw this guy as the ringmaster, he would achieve what he did?
Actually, I did. I was one of those. As a matter of fact, I can remember having conversations with Steve, and there were a number of people in the organization at the time who were telling him, they were talking to him about his television matches and that he needed to do more, that he needed to do more stuff and that he was not doing enough, and basically I told Steve, I said, don't change anything. I said, because if you do what everybody else does, then you're just like everybody else. I said, but what you're doing is it's more of your own style, and you're actually getting down on the mat and you're wrestling, and you're wrestling in a rugged style. And I said, it makes you different. And I said, I believe that if you keep doing what you're doing, I said, you have the potential to be one of the biggest stars they've had in a long time. And it went on to become one of the biggest stars they've ever had. From a Christian point of view, and from where I stand now, and I have been very vocal about it, Austin 3:16, I don't know if it was his idea or not, but it's blasphemy. It mocks God. And Steve as a person, I had no problem with Steve. I thought he was a pretty decent guy. I didn't really know him that well. I wasn't around him all that much. But the whole Stone Cold character and attitude, I think, stinks, because you got a bunch of kids out there that look up to that, and they look up to that attitude, and that attitude will do nothing but get them in trouble.
On that note, I'd like to thank all the fans for all the questions, and of course to our distinguished panel here. It's been truly enlightening listening to. And
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. As you can see outside, it's horrible. It's a huge blizzard. Anyone here was at the last Band Slam? There was about 995 more people than there was today. But for you people that are here today, I really want to say thank you very much for coming out and risking your lives to come here and support Band Slam. And my hat's off to you. I really appreciate it. And just to let you guys know, the next Band Slam will be here on Saturday, March the 13th, 2003, the day before WrestleMania 20. And it will be a tribute to WrestleMania 1. And a lot of guys that were in WrestleMania 1 will be here, and the next couple weeks we'll be finalizing town on that. But let's have a round of applause for Dr. D. David Schultz, Dewey Robertson, the $1 Million Man, Ted Dibiase, Virgil, the last facility not least, Gary Capetta. And also a nice hand for yourselves for taking the time and risking your lives coming out today. I thank you very much for coming out. And see you Saturday, March the 13th. Also Chief Jay Strongbow, Bam Bam Bigelow, all the vendors that came out, everyone that came out today. Thank you very much, and see you on Saturday, March the 13th.
Fight forever and ever and ever and ever